So, hello again. We're going to do the two witnesses here on Exodus Revelation Code. Yochanan here. I got some free time on my hands. I fell off a log. I don't recommend walking on fallen logs. Carrying about 25 pounds of huckleberries. Flew up in the air, landed on a stump. I'm just glad I didn't break any bones or pierce my kidney. So here I am, sharing what I've got in a book. You know, I believe Abba gave it to me to go circle the globe to exalt His Word. It's like seeing divine patterns in His Word. So let's go here. Father, give us understanding of Thy Word. Open our eyes, because we cannot see unless You give us the ability to see spiritual things or spiritually discern. Amen. So, Revelation 11. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. Again, Moses had a rod, and you're going to see here many parallels in Exodus. This is the plagues, waters turning to blood when Moses stretched out his rod. The river Euphrates the Nile River turned to blood. Okay. And the angel stood saying, Rise and measure the temple of Elohim and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. And I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the Elohim of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. If any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. They have power over waters to turn them to blood, to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. So, I want to look here in verse 6. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. Okay. And again, we see in Exodus how Moses stretched out his rod and waters were turned to blood. But let's go and find this. This is a quote from two places. One of them, same theme here in Zechariah 14. It's the plague of your eyes and tongue burn melting away in your mouth. And it's for those who are gathering against Jerusalem to battle. And in Revelation 11, it says, the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. That's 3.5 years. And of course, when Elijah prophesied that it would not rain dew, not even have dew on the ground, it was for 3 years and 6 months. And so one of the things that happens when the people come against Jerusalem, it says, and this shall be the plague wherewith Yahuwah will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet. And their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Now, I don't know what causes that, but it sounds like an incredible, intense heat, and that may be the fire that comes out of the mouth of the two witnesses. It sounds like it would be an incredible heat. So there's one of the things that Revelation refers to. And then here's another very specific one in verse 16 of Zechariah. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King Yahuwah of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King Yahuwah of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith Yahuwah will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So again, in Revelation, the two witnesses, what they do, says these have power to shut up heaven. Verse 6, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. So that's a prophecy in Zechariah 14, 16 through 19. And if you don't want to be smitten by this plague, then there's only one condition to not be, and that's to go up to Jerusalem and keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, in case you're wondering what that means, I am too. But here in verse 2 of Revelation 11, it says, but the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, in the holy city shall they tread underfoot 40 months. Okay. Now, if you take that in literal time, that's 3.5 years, or 3 years and 6 months. If that's prophetic time, which it seems to be, you're talking 1,260 years. And that's a lot longer. And so, the holy city, I believe, can refer to Elohim's people. And you say, well, what's a reference for that? Well, good question. And I'm not discounting the literal Jerusalem, okay? I'm not saying that it has nothing to do with it. I don't want to add to or take away from the word and be found a liar and be, needing rebuked. But I just want to move into Hebrews chapter 11. And, Abraham, here it is here. Okay, these are about the hall of faith, right? People of faith. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. You see, the Feast of Tabernacles is an acknowledgement that you're a pilgrim on the earth, that you're a stranger, that there's something better in the future. The tabernacle of Elohim one day will dwell with men, right? For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country, and truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is, an heavenly. Wherefore Elohim is not ashamed to be called their Elohim, for he hath prepared for them a city. Okay, there is a city prepared for them. A heavenly one. Okay? Now, I'm just scrolling forward here. And it says, in all these all having obtained a good report through faith received not the promise, God having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. And so they're still waiting for a heavenly Jerusalem. Now, so I'm just scrolling down to find that verse here in Hebrews. Sorry it's taking me so long. Yeah. Okay, verse 18 of Hebrews 12. For ye are not come unto the mount that might be touched. Okay, that's talking about Mount Zion, Mount Sinai, and that burned with fire, nor unto blackness and darkness and tempest, and the sound of a trumpet and the voice of words, which voice they that heard entreated that the words should not be spoken to them any more, for they could not endure that which was commanded. And if so much as a beast touch the mountain, it shall be stoned, or thrust through with a dart. And so terrible was the sight that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake. So yeah, this is Mount Zion. But you are come unto Mount Zion, and unto the city of the living Elohim, the heavenly Jerusalem, to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and church of the firstborn which are written in heaven, and to the judge God, and to Elohim, the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect, and to Yahushua, the mediator of the new covenant, to the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel. Okay, so what I'm suggesting is that this verse in Zechariah 14 could also be gathering to the general assembly of the firstborn, to the heavenly Jerusalem, the city of the living Elohim. And when people that are members of that city are persecuted, that city is trampled underfoot. Okay, so I think that is certainly a valid interpretation. That's not, it's just a valid statement if you accept the book of Hebrews. If you don't, well, then, yeah, it's not valid. But I accept the book of Hebrews as scripture. So the point being is, I don't think you necessarily or absolutely must go to Jerusalem over there where there's, bomb shelters and problems like that keep the Feast of Tabernacles. I'm not saying you shouldn't go, okay? Please don't take it that way. I think there's practical reasons. Maybe we got off on what day's the Sabbath and we go back there and we reset it, reset the clock. So I'm all for that. But since the destruction of the temple, we have been scattered. And so until he gathers us back, we're still in the exile. In any case, that's a witness from scriptures that the plague of no rain in Revelation 11 is talking about not keeping the Feast of Tabernacles. So if you don't want that plague of no rain to come upon you, well, then by all means keep the Feast of Tabernacles and focus more on the heavenly Jerusalem is my encouragement to you. Yeshua said, wherever 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst. So there's a second witness from the Torah about the plague of no rain that Revelation 11 is talking about that. It's down here in verse 16. It says, take heed to yourselves that your heart be not deceived, and that ye turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. And then Yahuwah's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up heaven, that there be no rain, and that the land yield not her fruit, unless ye perish quickly from off the good land which Yahuwah giveth you. Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and ye shall teach them unto your children, speaking of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, and thou shalt write them upon the doorpost of thine house and upon thy gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children in the land which Yahuwah sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth. Okay? So here you have a direct quote in verse 17 from Revelation 11. So there's 2 witnesses in Deuteronomy and Zechariah about the plague of no rain. So that's my suggestion, is that the 2 witnesses are none other than the scriptures themselves. They are the 2 witnesses, the pre-messianic and the messianic scriptures. And so I hope this little burst has blessed you. Continue to study to show yourself approved unto Elohim, a workman that needs not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. You're welcome to pick up Exodus Revelation Code at andyrising.com. And it's a 135-page Bible study reference book. It's a blessing to me. You have a wonderful day, and Shalom Aleichem.